So now I'm going to be showing you some of the tools that I've been using for making love. These applications are all open source and free and been made by me. So let's start by showing the modeling. Now, one of the interesting things about this game is that I'm using a system called Verse, which allows me to connect different applications together. So I'm going to use my modeling tool. I'm going to connect to a server. The server is running over here. It's kind of boring. And here I can look at all the assets that I have in the game. So I'm going to move over to this one, which is the tokens that you've seen all along. And you can actually see over here I'm running the game. So now if I, for instance, select a part of this object, I can change it. It changes in real time inside the game. And all my tools work like this. So that means that I never have to save, I never have to export, I never have to deal with any files whatsoever. Everything just happens. And it's a really, really nice way of working. So to show you a little bit more, I'm going to quit my game for a second. And I'm going to bring this up full screen. So to start off, I'm going to make a brand new object. In order to make an object, you just draw lines. And these lines are in 3D. And you can keep drawing them. You can follow these blue lines to get snapped to an axis. And once you get a quad or a triangle, you get a surface like this. I can rotate it using my right mouse button. I can keep drawing. So now let's make it a 3D thing. So now I have a nice curved surface. It's all subdivision surfaces. I can continue drawing my object. And as you can see, the lines you see on the outline here is really the lines I draw. So what you see is what you get. Now if you want to split anything, you just click on the edge of it and split, like that. If you want to delete something, you just cross it out. If you want to select something, you just draw a little lasso around it. You get this manipulator, you can move, you can rotate, you can scale. Well, you can scale a lot. All these things. So this tool is a very, very nice way of working, and it's kind of like sketching, and you only need to use one hand. And it's got a lot of very interesting features and things you can use if you're a graphics person. And beyond just the normal features that you can do just by drawing, you have a pop-up menu. So if I press the middle mouse button, I get all this, or I click on the manipulator, I get all this, which is delete and copy and yada yada yada, all the stuff you want to use when you do modeling. The same goes for an edge, for instance. I can do an edge here, bunch of edges, click on an edge, say revolve, I get a nice little revolve here. So it's a really, really powerful tool. And this is a tool I've been using throughout the making of Love to make all the models and all the geometry for the game. Now usually in the game I actually make just pieces and then the engine puts them together. So let me for instance show you this one, which is the tree. And it's actually a tree that you see all over the game. And at the bottom of the tree you can see it's got a square bottom down here. And that actually is used by the engine. So the engine sort of finds a square and says, oh, I'm going to put a tree here, and then removes that square and inserts this tree instead. So by doing that, I only have to make one single tree and it can fit it anywhere in the world. And by sort of stretching it a little bit and mucking about, rotating it and doing stuff like that, it makes all the trees look a little bit different. So even though I actually only have one tree all over the world, I get a lot of diversity and can make an entire forest without making them all look like duplicates of each other. So another tool that I've been working on for Love, but actually I'm not going to use that much, is my UV unwrap tool. Now this tool allows me to unwrap models for texturing. So this is an object. This is actually the breaker you saw in the game, and this is the UV. The thing that is interesting about this is that it's all actually happening automatically. So I can actually choose the same object in my modeler here, as you can see, and if I run them side by side, if I start making any changes to this one, you can see that the UV mapper is automatically creating a new UV that fits the new model. Do that. Let's say this object. This is a power-up you'll get in the game. Looks like this. I'm going to click. Here we go. You can see how it's all figured out how to fit it onto this texture. And if I select a piece, I can just, automatically generate the best possible way of texturing this object. So now I'm going to be showing you this tool, and I've actually switched all the data set right now, but I'm going to show you this little environment here, and it's all running using Verse, and it's using my asset management tool. So in this tool, you can actually click on any object like this one, and you can see here's the object. It's using this geometry and this shader and all this stuff, so you can sort of keep track of your data. You can click on an object, see exactly, you know, all the things that are inside it, like the transform and blah, 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 blah. So this is a very sort of technical tool, but it's also a very good tool for just keeping track of things. So one of the things you can do here is actually that you can put tags on objects. So for instance, you can see this billboard here is actually red. That's because if you go into it, it has a tag that says priority critical. And that means that somebody needs to start working on this object. And this display has actually been configured. If I go into the configure, and here you can see I've configured it to say if this certain tag is on the object, make it red. And I can actually, you know, make it purple or whatever color I want, or I can set it up to say it's text instead, and I can see priority critical over here, or even as an icon, and then I can draw a little icon down here, and that icon will then appear on the object. So this is a great way for teams that are working on big games to communicate with each other, because they don't have to have like a wiki or some sort of web pages or, you know, system like that. They can actually just be in the 3D environment where they work every day and just see what's going on and communicate through the 3D world. That's really helpful if you got a lot of buildings, for instance. It doesn't help to tell somebody that the building is broken, because you got to show which one. It's kind of hard to describe in text. You end up doing screenshots and things like that. So this is a much, much nicer way of working. So one of the small features is you can see those little spaceships flying around. If you click on one of those, you can actually have a little bit of fun in your world. And this is maybe not the best thing for productivity, but it's kind of fun. So we're going to stop that now. Anyhow, so I'm going to turn on some shading on this, because this is gray and boring. You can click just in empty space if you want to bring up all the objects, and here I can see all the objects, but they're all wireframe, and that's not fun. So let's clear the screen and turn on shading mode. So now we can see this environment in shaded mode, and it's actually rendered in an OpenGL2 rendering engine. So the artist can sort of see what's going on, and they can click on any object and find out what's going on. So let's have a look at, for instance, this environment, and we have a shader here I'm going to check out. Let's say, I think we should do this brown one. So this brown one is used all over on the curves and on the side here. So I'm going to click on it to see what's inside of it. So here is the color, and the color is multiplied with the light. And if I change the color, you can see that the color of the sidewalks are changing in real time. So this allows me to manipulate the world. And this is really nice because an artist can really understand this. It's kind of simple. It's just they connect boxes. There's a whole list of boxes of things they can do, add reflections or add whatever they want. And then the programmers, they don't really have to tell the artists how the whole thing is going to be rendered or all the technical things. Because the artists, they just say this, what they want it to look like. And then the programmers can fill in, you know, what does lighting mean? How do you compute lighting? How do you do that? And when they write little shader snippets that describe that, when you export, it'll take the little snippets, put them together, and create your shader. That means if you want to change your lighting algorithm, you can really easily do that by just changing the snippet and re-exporting. So let's have a look at some of the more fun materials. This is a material that actually is a little bit more complicated. It's light that is added to a reflection. There's a reflection over here, but the reflection in turn is multiplied by this ramp, and this ramp goes from light to dark, and it's mapped on top of the view. So that means that in the middle of the object, that is, you know, in a sphere that is going straight at us, you get this weird dark area, and at the edges you get a lot of light. So that means if you look at the object, you get these reflections just at the edge of the object, but there's no reflection in the middle. So that's kind of simulating car paint or something like that. So you can build some really complex shaders with this, but at the same time it's really simple for artists to use. So here's another material that I like, and it's very simple. It's actually just a output of a reflection, but it has this second tree here that is actually displacement mapping, so I can displace my object really easily. And this is all actually subdivision surfaces, so I can do level of detail by bringing in the number of complexity. I can pull up the complexity or pull it down all in real time. Actually, let's turn on wireframe. You can all see sort of how you can take down the complexity or take it up depending on different machines. So when you make your art, you don't really have to care about whether it's for a platform, if you have lots of polygons or very few polygons. So you can use the same assets for a PSP game or a PlayStation 3 game or a 360 game. You can control very perfectly exactly how many polygons you want in the final product.